Alexander to where he needs to be.
The whole park is gone. I bet you 30 trailers are gone up there. People laid out all over up there, man.
We were in that block building, took the roof off. Me and my husband and my son and 3 grandkids.
There you are.
They like to pull us out of it.
But we was a-praying.
We was a-praying.
What's going on, guys?
You need to stand right over here.
He needs help.
Good evening and welcome to today's THV at 5:30. I'm Rochelle McCoy.
I'm Larry Audis along with Ann Jansen. This is a day to remember, and we do so by having a commercial-free half-hour newscast 1 year after the life-changing day of March 1st, 1997.
Now at 10 o'clock tonight, these chairs that you see in front of me here are going to be filled with people who remember firsthand the devastation of that day when 25 people died as a series of tornadoes swept all across Arkansas.
In fact, we will recall the tragedy of that fateful day and hear the personal stories of recovery, too.
But first up tonight, Rochelle McCoy brings us today's news. Rochelle.
Thanks, Ann and Larry. Good afternoon, everyone. Here are some of the national stories of interest today. The tables are turning for Kenneth Starr. A panel of the 8th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals will meet in Fayetteville this week. They'll hear a complaint involving the Whitewater Independent Council. A Connecticut man has been fighting Starr's appointment from the very beginning. He claims Starr has so many conflicts of interest, he should be punished. Starr's office calls the complaints frivolous. Iraq promises to stick to a new inspections agreement with the United Nations. The UN chief says it better. The Secretary General made the agreement in Iraq last week. He says Saddam Hussein knows if he breaks it, the U.S. will get support for a military strike. Iraq's ambassador to the UN says inspectors will receive full access to the sites they want to see. After evacuating hundreds of families, a small town in Wisconsin has been given the all-clear. Several residents of Walworth were evacuated after a propane tank burst into flames last night. People were forced to stay in shelters. A car ran into the tank and caused that blaze. Authorities haven't been able to get close to the car to see if anyone's inside. It's still burning, but the fire chief says the hazard is now over. The Air Force unveiled a new spy plane this weekend. The unmanned surveillance plane has a range of 14,000 nautical miles. It's called the Global Hawk, equipped with high-resolution sensors. This allows the plane to conduct surveillance over an area the size of the state of Illinois. It can stay airborne for almost 2 days. A plane and bus collided in Texas late last night. 13 students and a bus driver were injured when a train hit the back of a school bus in the town of Centon. Police say the bus driver crossed the tracks while warning bells and lights were flashing. That accident's under investigation right now. The bus was carrying a Texas track team home from a school meet. The last of the McCoy septuplets are at home today. Natalie and Alexis were born on November 19th, along with their 4 brothers and 1 sister. The 7 infants were born about 9 weeks premature in Des Moines, Iowa. It appears Bobby and Kenny McCoy will have their hands full for quite a while. A 7 million pound building is resting much easier this afternoon. The historic Empire Theater in New York has a new home. It was moved 170 feet to its new location on 42nd Street. The 86-year-old building was lifted onto a mobile foundation and inched along 1 foot per minute. The move took about 5 hours. The relocation made space for a new 25-screen movie complex. Well, lots of folks got a grand time at the capital city as they learned more about Black history. You might recall the Museum of Discovery just opened a couple of weeks ago. Well, today, workers hosted the African American Heritage event. Visitors got to eat authentic African cuisine, and they were also taught several words in Swahili. We even found some youngsters reading folk tales.
The story was about this man named Anansi. He was called the Spider-Man because he was old, but he liked to climb to the sky.
And if you'd like to know how that story ends, you'll have to pick up the book at the museum. Heritage Sunday was sponsored by the Racial and Cultural Diversity Commission. 1 year later, 1998, March 1st, we had very beautiful Sunday.
Yes, we did. We did have a few clouds move in, though. Those clouds cooled us off, and some very chilly readings out there, and a little bit of light snow could fall in parts of northern Arkansas for tonight. For us, just looks like more in the way of some cloudiness and some colder temperatures. Around the state right now, it is 37 in Harrison, 39 in Fayetteville, the two cooler spots. Also, they've had quite a bit of cloudiness throughout the day, 48 over in Jonesboro, and a very chilly 50 in Little Rock. We've dropped off here at the station about 5 degrees. We're heading about 46. Check out the clouds around an area of low pressure located up in Missouri. With the clouds, a little bit of light snow. Not a whole lot of moisture out there is present, but we do have cloudy skies, and they will hang with us for a good part of tonight and tomorrow, and then break up by tomorrow afternoon. Quick look at live view shows some precipitation probably not touching the ground because it's just simply too dry out there. But all in all, this evening, North Arkansas could see about a 10 to 20% chance of some light snow. Forecast real quick calls for cloudy and cold here in central Arkansas. A few flurries possible. North counties 32 for the low. Northwest wind 5 to 10. Now for tomorrow, look for a mostly cloudy day. Quite chilly here in Little Rock, 48 only for the afternoon high. Northwest wind 10 to 15. And a quick glance at the next 7 days calls for some warmer temperatures by Tuesday and Wednesday, but looks like another period of some rain moving in by Thursday through the first part of the weekend next weekend. So not too bad of a day today, but it looks like clouds are going to hang with us.
All right, thanks a lot, Tom. And of course, Jerry here. You're talking about the Hogs and the chances at the SEC tournament, right?
I think there's some cause for concern. This team has been struggling lately toward down the stretch, and I'll tell you what else is happening. They've got a very difficult bracket, I think, in the SEC tournament. Now, the Razorbacks hope to win the SEC tournament. If they do, they've got their work cut out for them. Here is their half of the bracket. As the number 2 seed in the West, they get a first-round bye, but will face the winner of Tennessee LSU. Now, that'll be Friday night. Volunteers are hot and recently beat the Hogs, you may remember. Now, if the Hogs get by that game, they'll probably face Kentucky in the semifinals. UALR is still standing. They've reached the semifinals of the Sun Belt Conference Tournament. Tonight in the Cajun Dome, they take on top seed South Alabama. This will tip off in just a couple of minutes. If the Trojans win, they'll meet the winner of the USL Lamar game for the Sun Belt crown and, more importantly, a berth in the NCAA tournament. Lamar, of course, upset Arkansas State last night. A former Trojan, Derek Fisher, you see him right over there, continues to sparkle in the NBA. Fisher was on national TV today as the Lakers traveled to the Big Apple. Fisher's coach applauding his efforts. Fisher, filling in for the injured All-Star Nick Van Exel, fires the touchdown pass to Kobe Bryant. Fisher isn't as flashy as Van Exel, but he's keeping the Laker offense on the green light. He blows past John Starks, but despite the efforts, the Lakers suffer a scoring drought in the fourth quarter and lose to the Knicks. Well, the women's SEC championship game involved the unbeatable Tennessee Lady Volunteers and Alabama. Here's the latest from Columbus, Georgia. Actually, it's a lot closer than I think most anybody expected. Just an 8-point game with about 10 minutes left to play. All right, the city of Las Vegas traded in its bright lights and fast living for brake lights and fast driving. The city was gambling as it rolled the dice on a Winston Cup race out to the track. Las Vegans took time away from the slot machines to see this 267-lap race. By lap 200, Batesville's Mark Martin, car number 6, held the lead as he slid past Rusty Wallace. Martin cruising the rest of the distance. Mark Martin becomes one of the few Las Vegas visitors to actually leave the city a winner. It's his first Winston Cup victory of the season. And on The Late Show, we'll keep you posted on UALR's efforts in the Sun Belt Tournament and highlights from the women's SEC title tilt. That's coming up at 10 o'clock.
All right, we'll look forward to it. Thanks, Jerry. Well, 1 year ago, for about 4 hours, there was a tornado warning, an average of once every 5 minutes. Let's go back to Ann and Larry for more memories of last year's tornadoes.
Rochelle, it goes without saying that even after a year now, the memories of that horrible day are still vivid. Tonight we will hear first-hand accounts of the personal stories.
And we'll also look back at the event itself and how people are still recovering physically and emotionally, too.
Larry, the technology of weather forecasting has changed dramatically in just the past couple of years now. Early last year, today's THV's Live View radar went online. On March 1st, lives were on the line, and that radar was put to a major test on live TV.
We just have word that we have a tornado on the ground. Willow Springs. 45 houses have been hit on Geyer Springs Road.
It's devastating.
What, we've confirmed tornadoes? Right, we've had confirmed tornadoes.
We knew just exactly where the storm was going, and that helped us to make our decision for safety. And I feel like that Ed and Tom and the live radar saved a lot of people's lives.
If it hadn't been for Tom and Ed and the live view radar, there would have been a lot more death than what was, I do believe. We've had enough, but I think if they hadn't have done what they had done, there would have been a lot more people that would have been suffering. It was just phenomenal.
The only channel that was going live was Channel 11. And I was real happy about that because I'm from Florida originally, and I've never been in a tornado situation. Live view radar is very easy to understand. It was almost as if I was there, only someone else was there, a professional who could explain what was happening. And that made me feel safe.
Because we watched live view radar, it did save our lives. I had time to get my wife and son downstairs and to keep this from being a total disaster with 3 DOAs.
They were saved, and I truly think that y'all had a great deal to do with that.
And I give all the credit to Channel 11 and the outstanding weather system that they have. Live view radar saved my family from injury and possibly death.
It's nice to have a tool that can save lives. It's a machine, but all these people are obviously thankful that we have that piece of machinery. So I think we did the right thing by getting that for our viewers.
Live View radar did indeed play a role there, the only television station radar in the market on that very fateful day, very important tool used here by Ed Buckner and Tom Brannan. That really was a where were you kind of day. I think everybody in Arkansas, probably like the Kennedy assassination or something like that, knew where they were. We know where you were. You were here working the radar.
That was
unbelievable.
A day we'll never forget. And a lot of people have asked me since then, what do you remember the most of it? And I think one thing you just said in that piece, there were 45 homes destroyed on Geyer Springs Road. You know, when he told me that, it was like in my head, I went, wow. That's something. But I had no time to let it sink in. Right. I was trying to track this monster to hopefully save some more lives down the way.
Right, and all of the information was coming into me, and I was trying to let people know where it was and what was happening. And I would have to say the thing that I remember the most was not within the studio, but was when I went out to see the College Station area.
The damage?
It was horrible. It was just unbelievable looking at what had happened. But it literally like a bomb had gone off. So what we want to do is show you the path of destruction real quick and what happened that day. Notice the two longest paths, one in southwest Arkansas, one in northeast. The one in northeastern Arkansas, actually around 75 miles. The one that affected us within the same storm down in the southwestern quadrant, 67 miles. Now that is above average for what we normally see. You know, when you talk about in terms of mileage, tornadoes usually stay on the ground at an average of around 16 miles or so.
I want to show you the same graphic, but compare it to how many people lost their lives in each of these touchdowns. 6 people were killed in the Arkadelphia area in Clark County. 10 lost their lives in Saline County near the Sardis Road area. 5 lives were lost in Pulaski County. You see, that was a very short path, but it hit a highly populated area. 3 people died up across parts of Jackson County, and then 1 man was killed up in, I believe it was Greene County, near Marmaduke. So that gives you a recap. 25 people dead from the actual tornado, and we added on, unfortunately, because of some other problems that occurred in the cleanup efforts. Some more people died.
Real quick, when did it sink in? You're working the tools here, but when does it hit home?
For me, the next day, watching a report by Brian Black, I couldn't believe the stuff I saw.
For me, it was College Station when I had a chance to go out and see it for myself.
And busy that day, too. I think you were out in Dixon Road, weren't you, Ann?
I was, Larry, and the next day I was in Arkadelphia, and at 2:42 on the afternoon of March 1st, Arkadelphia took a direct hit. 6 people died there. Some 20 homes were destroyed. Another 24 had serious damage to them. The Clark County Courthouse, which was built almost a century ago, was damaged, and many believed that it was beyond repair. But the people of Arkadelphia weren't about to neglect a local treasure or let their town die. Dawn Scott joins us live from the courthouse. And Dawn, I mentioned I was there a year ago tomorrow, and the town was absolutely leveled.
Well, Ann, the scene is much different a year later. 1 year ago today, a tornado ruined, absolutely destroyed hundreds of homes and businesses and took with it 6 lives. But one thing that it did not kill here is the spirit of recovery. The sounds are much different 1 year later. The wind blows and the sun shines this day. A year ago, time stood still for Arkadelphians. At 2:42 in the afternoon, March 1st, 1997, a tornado ripped apart this town and its people. At 2:42 today, a ceremony marked the storm that changed everyone's lives here. For Arlene McLaughlin, who lost her sister-in-law in the storm, the ceremony was too much to take. She had to leave early. But Deb Wilson and her son Dominic stayed. This time last year, they drove their pickup truck right into the eye of the storm. Deb suffered massive injuries, but she and her son stayed to hear others' experiences, stayed to see the faces of those who share one thing in common. They survived a tornado.
We're getting there. I don't think I'm totally recovered. I think the idea of this storm still haunts me, but they say it just takes time.
I'm glad it didn't hit the house because my little puppy inside of it. I just got him before the tornado.
Today on the courthouse lawn, it was a memorable day, though some wish it were one they could forget.
It was an incredible thing to see the property damage, but what I remember is that when I talked to people, they didn't tell me what they had lost. They told me what they had left, their hope, their optimism, their lives. I think it was one of the clearest demonstrations of the grace of God I've ever seen in my life.
For Deb Wilson, nothing will change the past, but there's comfort, she says, knowing it's a new day, knowing the city's spirit shines through. Now, the mayor of this town tells me that more than half of the city's rebuilt. Tonight at 10, we'll talk to one person, Andy Berry. He has a tax and accounting firm. He rebuilt despite the fact that he lost one of his secretaries. That story tonight at 10. Larry?
Dawn, thank you very much. Again, we'll see her from Arkadelphia tonight at 10 o'clock. Now, the second deadly tornado attack after Arkadelphia touched down in Saline County. 10 people lost their lives there alone. It was the most powerful of the 16 twisters that day. At times, it very literally carved a path of destruction 8/10 of a mile wide. The line cut through Chico, Vimy Ridge, Oak Ridge, and the Shannon Hills neighborhoods. Now, Brian Black was there that day. He's back in Saline County now. Brian, do a little compare and contrast for us. So what you saw then, what you see and feel now.
Well, of course, it's been 1 year and it looks a lot better, but then it also looks pretty bad in some places. I'm in the Oak Forest community. About 15 homes here were leveled. Behind me, you can still see some damage. A whole bunch of trees are laid on their sides. They haven't been cleaned up. And take a look at this. Bent trees. They'll probably grow like that for the rest of their lives. But the good news here is what's over my shoulder, a brand new house. The family moved in. They're trying to get their lives back together. A lot of people in Saline County are trying to get their lives back together. Now this morning, victims and volunteers reunited to try to remember and also forget March 1st.
As the sun peaked over the horizon, victims of the tornado gathered on Sardis Road for a sunrise service. Most were bundled up. The cold temperatures were a far cry from last year when the weather was right for deadly tornadoes. It's been exactly 1 year, but the memories are still very fresh.
You've never seen such a mess. Couldn't see anything. It was just trees crisscrossed on the ground and houses everywhere. This is a day to celebrate, let me tell you.
These Saline County tornado victims are celebrating survival. The year of digging out has been hard, but they've learned they're not alone and they can lean on each other.
We've done a lot of work out here, and I think everybody's going to pull together, and we're still going to keep trying to improve things and make things better for everybody out here because, you know, we want to be proud of where we live.
During the service, a moment of silence was held to remember those who died last year. Later, everyone prayed for a better future.
It's just going to take a long time. I don't know if we can come back next year on the second anniversary and say it's done, or it could be 5, 10 years. Who knows?
That's one thing that surprised me and surprised a lot of people. I didn't realize it would take 10 years to rebuild, but it probably will before this place really looks like the same place it was before the March 1st tornado. Now tonight at 10, we'll follow around a Saline County family that has been trying to rebuild for the last year. Back to you, Larry.
Process of rebuilding, it takes days and months and years, and will go on for some time, as Brian said there. Now, today's THV chief photojournalist Orrin Hardcastle joins us live from Saline County. A year ago, he witnessed the immediate aftermath of the destruction firsthand. Orrin, I think you saw all of it with your camera, but as we talk later, as you came in here and we reported live from the set, I think you saw it with your heart, too, and that really touched you, I think.
It's very true. It was a very emotional scene. I've been to a lot of tornadoes, various disasters, but I've never been to one as quick, or the tornado had apparently just lifted off the ground and moved on when I got here. So it was very startling. These pictures are from the area. One of the things that's always struck me as very strange is I walked into this area at the Bennett Trailer Park pretty much all by myself, and when I came out, there was hundreds of people. This is the family of Joshua Vaughn, the 15-year-old who lost his life trying to warn them of the tornado. This is a young man and his mother that we had come up on that had been totally blown from their trailer and were laying out in the middle of the field. This is a young man being carried off. It was a pretty rough day.
That was, obviously, for everybody there. Orrin, quickly, the effect on your person and your family, just not so we can focus on you, but so we can understand the impact that this has. How long was it before all of that sank in and then left you?
Well, it took quite a while. One of the things that was most disturbing to me when I came up on Joshua Vaughn's family is it could just as easily have been my son or one of my daughters in this same circumstance. And one of the things I've always told my family is this family's not immune from the types of things that we see, and this really brought it home.
We all learned that, didn't we? Orrin Hardcastle in Saline County. Ann.
Larry, that Saline County tornado didn't stop there. It continued on into Pulaski County along Arch Street and seriously damaged many businesses and homes along Dixon Road. In Pulaski County, more people died. The funnel cloud lifted and then touched down again in College Station. 5 people lost their lives in Pulaski County, 4 in College Station. At that point, the twister was some 1/3 of a mile wide and very destructive, blowing through homes and businesses. Deanna Dewberry is in College Station tonight. Deanna.
Well, construction well underway in College Station. We can see the rebuilding underway. I'm standing here right in the middle of Graham Temple Church of Christ, what will be the Graham Temple Church of Christ. It was right in the path of tornado. You can see the evidence of nature's fury there behind me, those trees still broken from the tornado a year ago. Actually, it's quite fitting that I should be standing in the middle of a church because I'm told the church, the religious community, really the driving force behind the reconstruction here in College Station. The Mennonites have been here from March 2nd, 1997 until today, rebuilding homes. And today, the Mennonites, along with the folks of College Station, gathered at a church to give thanks.
For a year, they've worked together. On this day, they worship together. In this congregation, denomination doesn't matter. Cultural and ethnic differences don't matter. What does matter is their shared faith and their shared motivation to move this community from ruins to recovery.
Since that tornado in College Station, I've had a lot of my white brothers and sisters to come down. They no longer have the same opinion about this community because they've had an opportunity to meet the people.
Brothers and sisters like Willie and Edna Miller from Harrison, Arkansas.
It's just a joy to come back and see what progress has been made in this community through rebuilding, meeting the people. We have made a lot of friends here in this community.
Friendships that transcend boundaries and build more than homes.
Well, they've been a lot to me. They're friendly people, they're Christian people, and they love to be with people to help people.
We feel, as I'm sure we will hear in the services, that God has called us to respond to our neighbors in need and to bear each other's burdens.
And so on this day, they do more than bear one another's burdens. They give thanks for new friends, spared lives, new beginnings.
And they're officially declaring tomorrow Mennonites Day. Now tonight at 10, we'll revisit a College Station family that was hard hit by the tornadoes. That story tonight at 10. Back to you, Ann.
Deanna, the tornado especially affected the elderly. Some of their homes that weren't destroyed were damaged so badly that they couldn't afford to fix them since they're retired, many on fixed incomes. That's what happened to one Arkadelphia woman. Scotty Goodman has her story.
Have you ever been homeless? I was homeless then because I knew I couldn't stay there.
For 23 years, 91-year-old Ruth Jones lived in a spacious house in Arkadelphia. Now she lives in a retirement home. The tornado damaged her house too badly for her to repair. She gets homesick all the time.
Well, I'm getting over it now, but there for a while, it was pretty hard on me. You know, I was homesick for my friends, and having lived there so long, you know, there was a lot of adjustments to make.
Looking at pictures of her home makes Ruth feel worse, especially when she looks at her dining room. She would always have parties in it. She was getting ready for a party when the tornado hit. After it passed, all she could think to do was clean up.
I got a broom. I was trying to sweep a pathway through that glass.
Glass Ruth knows could have easily killed her. She thanks God every day that it didn't.
A glass flew all around me. I could have been cut all to pieces, but I didn't get a scratch. God was with me, or his guardian angels was over me or something.
Some furniture is all Ruth has left of her home. She never went back to look at it or took any pictures of the damage. She would rather just look at the pictures in her mind. In Maumelle, Scotty Goodman, today's THV.
So many stories, Larry, and we will have many more of those coming up tonight at 10 o'clock.
Indeed, we will. Right now, I want to check with Tom and Ed quickly on our weather brochure.
Just want to let you know that the new severe weather guides will be out this week. We'll have much more coming up later in the week about where you can get yours. Also, it's Severe Weather Awareness Week. We'll have much more on that every day this week.
A lot of memories here, many of them painful, but there is a purpose for it, to learn and to live 1 year after. We're back tonight at 10. Hope you join us then. Take care.
Difference.